The work hours in commercial real estate can be brutal when you're first starting out, but that doesn't mean that every single job in this industry is a recipe for burnout. Some people find themselves in roles with huge expectations of 80-hour work weeks, while others start in very different cultures with zero weekend work. So in this video, I want to talk through what I've learned over my 15 years in this industry to be the 4 biggest indicators of what your work-life balance might look like in any given role in commercial real estate, and how to make sure you're getting yourself into the right situation in the first place. So the first determinant of what your work-life balance might be is the capital structure of the company you work for, and the harder it is for your company to access capital in general, the longer your work hours will usually tend to be. Most real estate investment and development firms raise third-party capital to fund their deals, and they rely on deploying that capital to generate the majority of their revenue. And because of this, these companies are fundamentally in the business of raising as much capital as they can and then getting that capital out the door as quickly as possible. This creates a constant pressure to source more deals, underwrite more opportunities, and close more transactions, and this pressure ultimately flows down to every level of the company. This is especially true in acquisitions and investor relations focused roles where you're on the front lines of both raising and deploying capital, but this can also be true for asset management and portfolio management teams who are constantly working to put together reports for equity partners and lenders. Now, on the other end of the spectrum, the more built-in a company's capital source is, the less urgency there tends to be to get that capital out the door, and the less time pressure there tends to be in general throughout the entire organization. Banks, pension funds, life insurance companies, and even family offices all tend to fall into this category with things like deposits, government funding, premium payments, and even cash flows from other businesses entirely, all coming in on a relatively regular basis. These types of companies usually aren't incentivized financially to put money out the door, and also aren't usually pressured by their investors to the degree you might see in private equity, and both of these things tend to reduce the overall level of urgency you might feel in the office on a day-to-day basis. Now, I have found that employees at these types of companies can have relatively limited upward mobility, primarily because the work-life balance tends to be so good and senior leadership just doesn't end up turning over. But if you're looking for a way to maximize your work-life balance early on in your career, take a minute to think about where each company's money is coming from and how that might impact your overall experience. Now, the next big determinant of work-life balance in commercial real estate is the city you decide to work in, and the bigger your city is, the longer your work hours will tend to be, all else being equal. New York and LA are 2 of the best examples of this, with bigger populations than any other MSA in the country by a really wide margin, and some of the most challenging work week expectations throughout the entire US. There are so many deal opportunities for people working in these metros, so many events you could go to, and so many competitors that are going after the same deals or clients that you might be trying to land, all of which make it really hard to slow down when you're trying to build your career. These types of markets also tend to attract the best and brightest young talent from top universities across the country, which also adds another layer of competitiveness when you're working in these cities. On the other hand, smaller tertiary metros tend to have a lot fewer deal opportunities, fewer events for young industry professionals, and relatively less competition overall, which makes the work-life balance in these cities often a lot more manageable. And this difference becomes really clear when you start to look at the work patterns of different offices of the same exact company located in different cities throughout the US, and what you might expect to work from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. as an analyst at a major brokerage firm in New York, your workday might look a lot more like 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. if you work at that same exact company in Kansas City. Now, obviously, there are exceptions to this, and you can still see long work weeks in smaller tertiary markets, especially if you're working for a senior leadership team that has previously worked in a major metro. However, in general terms, you'll want to move towards bigger, more active markets if you're looking to push yourself, and you want to move towards smaller, more suburban markets if you're looking for a more manageable work week early on in your career. Now, the next factor I want to talk about has to do with how involved your specific role will be with transactions, and the closer you are to these transactions, the longer your work hours will tend to be. People working in acquisitions, investment sales, and mortgage brokerage roles can all see really long and often unpredictable work weeks for this reason, with very real closing dates and deadlines you need to meet. In these parts of the business, senior leadership will want to get their deals done on time at all costs, and with many transactions inevitably having issues that come up at the 11th hour, this can result in some really long days when big deals are under contract. This is also one of the main reasons why asset management and portfolio management roles tend to have materially better work-life balances than acquisitions or brokerage roles, all else being equal, since quarterly reports and annual budgets have much more predictable deadlines and much longer runways to get these things done. If keeping your work week to about 40 to 50 hours is a priority for you before you start your job search, take some time to think about how close the roles you're targeting will put you to transactions and whether it's worthwhile to continue down those paths. Now, the last factor I want to mention in this video actually has to do with the personal lives of the senior leaders of companies you'd work for. And in general terms, I found the less family-oriented a company's leadership team is, the longer your work weeks will usually tend to be. One of the most challenging work environments I've personally ever been in was when I worked for a boss who talked about his own family like a huge burden he needed to get away from. And one of the best work-life balance jobs I've ever had was when I worked for a boss who routinely left the office at 3 p.m. in the middle of the work week just to watch his kids play baseball. And surprisingly enough, the second company with a materially better work-life balance was actually a lot bigger and did a lot more transaction volume than the first company, which is a great example of how burning the candle at both ends isn't always necessary to get to where you want to go. If work-life balance is something that's important to you, I'd recommend taking the time up front during the interview process itself to try to get a feel for whether your hiring manager has kids and what they like to do outside of work. And their answers to these questions should give you a lot of insight into what their expectations of you might be and whether they see activities outside of work as a normal part of life or an unnecessary distraction. So while there isn't a one-size-fits-all rule that applies to every single company in this industry, these 4 things will give you the most insight into what your day-to-day experience might look like at a given firm and the types of opportunities that you should be targeting based on what you're looking for. And if you're watching this and you are trying to get your foot in the door in commercial real estate right now, and you want to make sure you have the skills you'll need to land interviews and pass an Excel modeling exam that might be given to you at top real estate investment, development, brokerage, and lending firms, make sure to check out our all-in-one membership training platform, Break Into CRE Academy. A membership to the Academy will give you instant access to over 120 hours of video training on real estate financial modeling and analysis. You'll get access to hundreds of practice Excel interview exam questions, sample acquisition case studies, and you'll also get access to the Break Into CRE Analyst Certification exam, which covers topics like real estate acquisition and development modeling, commercial real estate lease modeling, equity waterfall modeling, and many other real estate financial analysis concepts that will help you prove to employers that you have what it takes to tackle the responsibilities of an analyst or associate at a top real estate firm. And if you like this video and want to see more content on the channel on the day-to-day experience of working in commercial real estate, make sure to hit the like button and let me know. And let me know in the comments what else you want to learn more about when it comes to work hours or different career paths in this industry. As always, thanks so much for watching, guys. I hope you found this helpful. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already to see more videos like this every single week, and I'll see you in the next video.